Hi, everyone, and welcome back to English Over Tea. Listen and speak. I'm your host, Anna. Every word you hear, every phrase you repeat is a small victory, and these small victories add up really fast.
And I'm Dan. Hello to all our friends listening, whether you're at home, in the car, or maybe hiding from your boss at work. How are you doing today, Anna?
I am doing wonderful, Dan. I have a very big smile on my face because I am ready to talk. I love talking. Make sure to subscribe to Everyday English Studio, listen and speak, and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to learn and grow.
I know you do. That's why we have this podcast. I'm doing great too. I'm actually drinking a very nice cup of tea. It is hot and delicious.
Tea sounds lovely. I have my water here. Staying hydrated is important. But Dan, I'm excited because today we have a topic that, well, everyone needs. We are talking about making new friends and starting conversations.
Oh man, that is a perfect topic. But let's be honest, making friends can be a little scary, right? Especially in a new language. Your heart goes thump, thump, thump.
It really does. You feel so shy. You don't want to say the wrong thing. But it doesn't have to be hard. It's like taking care of a plant. Friendships need time and attention.
Actually, speaking of saying the wrong thing, I have a funny story. This happened a few years ago at a party. I met this girl named Anna, not you, another Anna.
Oh, okay. What happened?
Well, we were talking and she said, I really like bats. And I thought, bats, like the animals that fly at night? I wanted to be friendly, so I said, wow, that is unusual. I think they are a bit scary, but they are cool.
Wait, did she mean the animals?
No, she looked at me so strangely and said, scary? Why is a piece of wood scary?
She was talking about baseball bats.
Exactly. I was talking about vampires and she was talking about sports. We laughed for 5 minutes about it. It became a joke between us and she's still one of my best friends today.
That's such a great example, Dan. It shows you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present.
Present. We should explain that. It means you're there, you are listening, and you are trying.
Exactly. And those silly mistakes, they just become stories for later. So let's help our listeners. How do we start? How do we break the ice?
Oh, break the ice. That's a great multi-word phrase. To break the ice means to start a conversation in a social situation to make people feel more relaxed. It's like cracking the cold silence.
Right. And a simple way to break the ice is with a compliment. It makes the other person feel happy right away. Like if you see someone with a cute dog.
Oh, like my story from the park yesterday. I saw a man with a small white dog. It looked like a little cloud. I just said, what a beautiful dog. He is so cute.
That's perfect. It's a natural icebreaker. Then you can follow up with a simple question like, how old is he? It's like a game of catch. He throws the ball, you catch it, and you throw it back.
I love that. So once you've broken the ice, you get into small talk.
Small talk. This is another important one. Small talk refers to short, friendly conversations about everyday topics, like the weather, a class, or even your coffee. Some people think it's boring, but it's actually how we connect with people.
Right, you don't need fancy grammar. You can start with basic greetings. The classic, hi, how are you, still works. But you can also say, hey, how's it going? Or hi, how are things?
Or if you haven't seen a friend in a while, you can say, hey, long time no see.
I also like the one, hello stranger. It's a bit of a joke because obviously they aren't a stranger, but it feels like it because it's been so long.
Just be careful. Don't say hello stranger to someone you actually don't know. That would be very awkward.
Very true. Now, Anna, when someone asks, how are you? What's the best way to answer? Because I noticed some learners just say, fine, thank you, and then stop.
Yeah, fine, thank you sounds a bit stiff, like a textbook. It's better to say, I'm good, thanks, or pretty good, how about you? You can even say, not bad, just a little tired.
Adding a small detail keeps the conversation alive, like, I'm doing great, I just had a delicious cup of tea.
Exactly. It gives the other person something to react to.
Speaking of reacting, that's a huge part of sounding natural, but maybe we can, dive into that in the next section.
Definitely. There's so much more to cover, like the magic phrase for making friends.
I can't wait. I'm going to take another sip of my tea while we wait.
Sounds good, Dan. So, Dan, before we took our little tea break, I mentioned the magic phrase for making friends. Are you ready for it?
I am so ready. I've got my pen and notebook. Is it, abracadabra?
Not quite. It's actually much simpler. The magic phrase is, me too.
Me too? That's it?
Seriously, when you say me too, you find a connection. You're not strangers anymore. You're two people who love the same thing. It could be anything. I love pasta. Me too. I hate Mondays. Me too.
Oh, I see. It's like finding a bond, like the pasta bond you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Let me tell you a quick story. Last week, I was at the grocery store, in the bread section, looking for sourdough.
I love sourdough. It's the best bread.
See? Connection. Anyway, there was a woman there looking confused. I decided to be brave. I didn't even say hello first. I just said, the bread here is so good, but it's hard to choose, right?
That is so smart. You talked about the situation you both were in.
Right. She smiled and said she wanted something for sandwiches, but didn't know what was fresh. So I helped her. And then I said, by the way, I'm Anna.
By the way, let's stop there for a second. That's a great multi-word phrase. By the way is used to introduce a new topic or to add extra information that you just thought of.
Exactly. It's a very natural transition. Then I asked her a common interest question. Since we were both buying food, I asked, do you like cooking?
And did she?
She loves making Italian food. I said, wow, me too. I love pasta. We talked for a few minutes about recipes, and now we say hello every time we see each other at the store.
That's a victory for friendship right there. But Anna, what if the conversation starts to, slow down? Like, you both run out of things to say.
That's where the secret sauce comes in. Follow-up questions.
Follow-up questions. That sounds fancy. What does it mean?
It's actually very simple. A follow-up question is a question you ask after someone tells you something. It shows you are listening and interested. For example, if someone says, I went to the beach last weekend, don't just say, nice.
Right. That's a conversation killer.
Exactly. Instead, ask a follow-up, like, oh, really? Which beach did you go to? Or was it crowded?
Oh, or did you go swimming?
Perfect. Those questions make the conversation flow naturally. It's like that game of catch metaphor we used. He throws the ball, you catch it, and you throw it back.
I love that. And I think it helps to use open questions too.
Definitely. Open questions are questions that invite a longer answer, not just yes or no. Instead of do you like movies, you can ask what kind of movies do you like? Or what's the best movie you've seen lately?
It gives the other person a chance to talk about themselves, and people love talking about themselves.
They really do. You can ask about hobbies too. What do you do for fun on the weekends is a great one.
I use that one a lot. Mostly just work, but I've been trying to make more time for exercise is a typical answer.
And then you can use another follow-up. Oh, what kind of exercise do you do? See how it works? One question leads to another like a chain.
It really does. But Anna, what about tone? Because I've noticed that how you say something is just as important as what you say.
Oh, 100%. Small talk isn't just about words. It's also about sounding relaxed and friendly. If you smile and keep your tone light, people feel comfortable talking with you.
I try to use little words to sound more casual. Instead of saying I am tired, I say I'm kinda tired.
Or, it was a bit difficult. It softens your speech and makes you sound less like a textbook and more like a real person.
And contractions. I love contractions. Say I'm instead of I am. Say it's instead of it is. It makes the rhythm of your speech so much smoother.
It really does. I'm happy to meet you sounds way more natural than I am happy to meet you.
You know, we've talked about meeting new people, but what about catching up with old friends?
Ah, catching up. That's another great multi-word phrase. Catching up means meeting someone after a long time apart and telling them all the new things in your life since you last saw each other.
Like, long time no see, or hello stranger.
Exactly. My favorite is, how have you been? It's the present perfect version of how are you, and it covers the whole time since you last met.
I've been good, thanks. Just keeping busy. That's a classic. But maybe we can talk about how to get a little deeper into those conversations.
Sounds like a plan. I'm gonna go find some more sourdough while you think about that. Good luck with that. Dan, I've been thinking about something you said earlier about sounding like a textbook. One of the biggest secrets to sounding like a real person is using reaction phrases. These are those small, short words people use to respond while someone else is talking.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like, if someone is telling me a story, I shouldn't just stand there like a statue, right? That would be, pretty creepy.
Exactly. In real English, we don't stay silent. We react to show emotion and interest. For example, if someone says, I got a new job last week, you don't just say, okay. You say, oh, wow, that's awesome, or congratulations.
That's awesome. I like that one. I use that's cool a lot too. It works for almost everything. Like, I bought a new car. That's cool. I ate a sandwich. Maybe not for the sandwich.
Well, maybe if it was a really good sandwich. But seriously, these words make you sound alive and not robotic. If someone tells you something surprising, you can say, really? No way. Or, that's interesting.
What if the news is, not so good? Like if my friend says, I was late this morning and missed my meeting.
Then you use a sympathy reaction. You could say, oh no, what happened? Or, I know that feeling. It shows you care about their feelings.
I know that feeling. That's a good one to remember. It's like saying, I understand because I've been there too.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about agreeing. We already talked about me too, but there are other great ones like same here, exactly, or I know, right?
I know, right? I hear people say that all the time. What does it actually mean?
It's a way to show you completely agree with an opinion or a feeling. Like if I say Mondays are the worst, you could say, I know, right? It's very casual and friendly.
I'm going to use that tomorrow. This coffee is too hot. I know, right? But Anna, what happens if you don't agree? Do you just say, no, you're wrong?
Oh, definitely not. That would be a bit rude. In English, we like to share opinions politely. You can say, I see what you mean, but I think a little differently. Or, that's interesting, but I'm not sure I agree.
Oh, I see. So you aren't starting an argument. You're just, sharing your thoughts.
Right. It builds easy, positive communication instead of a fight. For example, if you say, I love working from home and I prefer the office, I could say, oh, really? I like it too, but sometimes I miss being around people.
That sounds much better than just saying, I hate working from home. It keeps the conversation peaceful.
Exactly. And while we're talking about sounding natural, we have to mention tone. It's not just what you say, but how you say it.
I've noticed that native speakers sound very relaxed. They don't sound like they're giving a speech.
That's because they use little words to soften their speech. Words like kind of, a bit, or sort of.
Kind of, like I'm kind of tired.
Yes, instead of saying, I am tired, which sounds very direct, you say, I'm kind of tired. Or instead of, it was difficult, you say, it was a bit difficult. It makes you sound more casual and less like a textbook.
And don't forget contractions, using I'm instead of I am or it's instead of it is.
Yes, contractions are the key to natural rhythm. They make your speech smoother. If you say, I am happy to meet you, it sounds a bit stiff, but I'm happy to meet you sounds friendly and warm.
It's like the words just slide together.
They do. Now, Dan, sometimes conversations get a little more serious. If you're catching up with a friend and you think they might be struggling, how do you check in on them?
Well, I usually just ask, are you okay?
You can do that, but sometimes "are you okay" can sound like you're worried something is wrong with them personally. A softer way is to ask, is everything going okay? Or have things been going okay?
Is everything going okay? That sounds a bit more gentle.
It is. It invites them to be honest without pointing the finger at them. If they want to talk, they will. If not, they might just say, yeah, I've been all right, just busy.
And if they don't want to talk about it, we shouldn't pry.
Right. Pry, that's a good word. To pry means to ask too many personal questions or try to find out things that are private. If someone says, it's fine, we just move on.
Respecting their privacy is part of being a good friend.
100%. We've covered a lot about the middle of the conversation, reacting, agreeing, and even checking in. But eventually, you have to leave.
True, you can't stay at the coffee shop forever. How do we end it without being, awkward?
We'll definitely have to get into that and maybe some tips for study buddies, too.
I'm ready, but first, let me just finish this last bit of my tea.
Take your time, Dan. And Dan, I'm still thinking about that sourdough bond I made at the store. But sometimes a conversation starts to slow down, and you want to move to something new without it being, weird.
Oh, I hate that awkward silence. You're both just looking at your shoes. So how do we change the topic naturally?
Native speakers use short transition phrases to keep things moving. One of the best is, by the way. We mentioned it before, but it's so useful. You can say, by the way, have you seen the new cafe near the station?
I love that one. Another good one is speaking of. Like, if we are talking about coffee, I could say, speaking of coffee, do you like cooking? It connects the old topic to the new one, like a bridge.
Exactly. Or you can say, that reminds me. It makes the transition feel like a natural thought. But Dan, eventually the coffee is gone and you have to leave. How do we end a conversation without just walking away?
Yeah, don't just run for the door. You can use a pre-exit word. I usually say, anyway. It's a signal that the conversation is finishing. I might say, anyway, I should get going. Or, anyway, I've got to get back to work.
Let's look at that multi-word phrase, get going. It means you need to leave or start moving toward your next destination. It's very polite because it sounds like you have a reason to leave, not that you're bored.
Right. And before you actually walk away, you should say something nice about the time you spent together. You can say, it was so great to finally catch up, or it was so good to see you again.
I use good catching up with you all the time. Remember, listeners, catching up means talking to someone after a long time apart to hear their news. It's a very warm way to end the chat.
And you can even add, see you around, or take care. It leaves the door open for next time.
Speaking of next time, sometimes you want to make plans to meet again. You don't want to just say goodbye forever.
Oh, like, we should hang out sometime. That's a classic. Let's explain that phrase. To hang out means to spend time relaxing or doing fun things with someone. It's very informal and friendly.
Or you can be more specific. You could say, do you want to grab a coffee? Or let's grab a bite after class.
Grab a bite. That's a fun one. It means to get something to eat quickly. It doesn't mean you are literally grabbing the food with your hands.
No, please don't do that. But Dan, what if someone invites you to grab a bite and you are just too busy? It's hard to say no to a new friend.
It is, but it's important to have healthy boundaries. That means having rules or limits to take care of your own time and energy. You can say no and still be a great friend.
A polite way to do that is to say, I'm busy today, but, and then offer another time. For example, I'm busy today, but let's meet next week.
That's perfect. It shows you still care, but you just can't do it today. And if a friend says no to you, don't worry. Just say, no problem, maybe another time. It keeps the friendship relaxed and healthy.
I love that. Friendships are like plants, remember? They need space to grow too. Now, before we get to the end, I wanted to mention some fun words for friend.
Oh, like in the UK, they use mate a lot. He's my best mate. It just means friend.
And pal. I've heard people say gal-cals for a group of female friends. It sounds so cute.
And in the US, we use buddy or even bestie for your very best friend. My dog, Buster, is my bestie, even if he can't talk back.
Buster sounds like a great pal. You know, we've talked about meeting people, keeping the flow, and even saying no politely. But there's one thing we haven't mentioned, the study buddy.
A study buddy is a friend who helps you learn, like our listeners. Maybe they have a friend they practice English with.
That is the best kind of friend to have. You can practice these phrases together, even the embarrassing stories about bats and vampires.
Exactly. Making mistakes together is how you get along well. To get along means to have a good, friendly relationship with someone.
We certainly get along well, Dan, even if you do spill your tea occasionally.
Hey, that was only one time. But you're right, it made for a good story.
It really did. Well, I think we're ready for our final section, the big recap, and our challenge for the listeners.
I'm ready. Let me just make sure my teacup is far away from my feet first.
Good idea, Dan. Wow, Dan. I feel like we've traveled a long way from that first hello in the park with Buster the dog.
We really have. My tea is finished, my sourdough is safely put away, and I feel like a friendship expert now. But seriously, we've talked about a lot of useful tools today. Maybe we should do a quick recap for our listeners.
That's a great idea. Recap time. So, step 1, the icebreaker. Remember, you don't need fancy grammar. You can start with a simple compliment like, "What a beautiful dog," or "I love your shoes." Or just talk about the situation you were both in, like the long coffee line or the weather.
Right, and then comes the small talk. Use those open questions to keep the conversation moving. Instead of, "Do you like movies?" ask, "What kind of movies do you like?" It's like throwing a ball back and forth in a game of catch.
Exactly. And don't forget the magic phrase, "me too." When you find that pasta bond or a shared hobby, you stop being strangers and start being friends.
I also loved what we said about reaction phrases. Using words like "really?" "That's cool," or "no way" makes you sound like a real person, not a robot. It shows you're listening and that you actually care about what the other person is saying.
And for those times when you need to move the conversation along, use transitions like, "by the way," or "speaking of." They're like bridges between topics, so there's no awkward silence.
We also talked about healthy boundaries. This is a big one. It's okay to say no if you're busy. Just use a polite phrase like, "I'm busy today, but let's meet next week." It shows you still care about the friendship, but you're respecting your own time.
Very true. And finally, when it's time to go, end with a warm phrase like, "It was so great to catch up," or "see you around."
Before we finish, let's look at a few more friend words. We mentioned mate and pal. In American English, we also use buddy or bestie for our closest friends. And if you have a good relationship with someone, you can say you get along well.
I love those. We get along like a house on fire, which is a funny way of saying we get along very, very well.
Let's hope no houses actually catch fire. But the most important thing we learned today is that English is just a tool for connection. People won't remember if your grammar was perfect, they will remember how you made them feel.
That is a perfect way to put it, Dan. So, listeners, we have a challenge for you today. We want to hear from you.
Yes, where did you meet your best friend? Was it at school, at work, or maybe at a park with a dog? Write your story in the comments. We love reading them. It's the highlight of our day.
And if you want to practice your speaking, try to say 3 to 5 sentences out loud about how you keep your friendship strong. Maybe you call them every weekend or send a message to ask, "How are things?"
Practice makes perfect, or at least it makes you more comfortable. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are just stories for later, like my vampire bat story.
Exactly. Well, that's all for today's episode of English Over Tea, Listen and Speak. We hope you feel a little more confident about making new friends and starting those conversations.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow and keep making these for you.
Thank you so much for joining us and for practicing your English with us today. Stay curious, keep smiling, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.